It was a bright Monday morning in suburban Georgia when Marcus Bennett pulled into the parking lot of one of the most prestigious luxury car dealerships in town. The sun hit those gleaming hoods like they were lined up for a photo shoot. BMWs, Mercedes, Audis, polished to perfection and practically winking at you like, yeah, you made it. Marcus stepped out of his 10-year-old Honda Accord, the paint still clean, tires still holding strong, and smoothed down the front of his navy blue suit. He adjusted his tie, took one slow breath, and walked toward the entrance like he owned the place. Because in his mind, after everything he'd been through, he wasn't here to look around. He wasn't here to fantasize. He was here to buy, and not just any car. A brand new silver S-Class Mercedes-Benz, fully loaded, every feature you could imagine. It wasn't just a car to him. It was a full-circle moment, a decade of grind compressed into four wheels and a leather interior. He'd spent years building code, launching apps, pitching investors, watching people believe in his ideas, or not. But it finally worked. He'd co-founded a tech company that took off faster than anyone expected. This car was proof that it wasn't a fluke. It was real, but the moment he stepped inside the dealership, the air shifted. There was this receptionist near the front, young white woman, mid-20s maybe, tapping away on her keyboard. She looked up at Marcus, and her expression changed. You ever see someone go from welcome to wait? What's he doing here? In half a second. Yeah, that happened. She glanced him up and down like she was scanning for a threat, then leaned in and whispered something to the nearest salesman. And this middle-aged guy in an expensive blazer with just enough gel in his hair to scream corporate sleaze. He turned, looked right at Marcus, and started walking over. Can I help you? He said, clipped, like he already had somewhere else to be. I called this morning. Marcus replied, keeping it cool. I'm interested in the S-Class out front. The salesman raised an eyebrow, not in curiosity, more like suspicion. You called, he asked. What name? Marcus Bennett, he said, offering his hand. The man didn't take it, just stood there, staring. Do you have financing lined up? He finally asked, like the idea of Marcus paying for a car like that was inconceivable. I'll be paying in cash. That was the moment, the shift, the part where the whole room seemed to take a breath. The salesman let out a laugh, not friendly, not surprised, loud and performative. You'll be paying in cash? He repeated, just loud enough for the other sales staff and a few nearby customers to hear. Marcus nodded slowly, pulled out his black leather wallet, and calmly said, Would you like to see proof of funds? But the man didn't respond. Instead, he mumbled into the walkie-talkie clipped to his belt, and that's when things turned from insulting to downright absurd. Two police cruisers rolled into the lot like it was a robbery in progress. Marcus just stood there, calm on the outside, heart beating like hell on the inside. The manager came out, short, stocky, voice too loud for no reason, and told the officers, We had a suspicious individual come in saying he wants to buy a six-figure car, claims he's paying in cash. No credit check, no appointment. We just wanted to be safe. Safe. That word's been weaponized more times than he could count. One of the officers turned to Marcus. Sir, can we speak with you? Marcus moved slow. No sudden movements. He reached into his jacket pocket, pulled out his ID, a business card, and a printout of his bank statement. Same one he brought just in case something like this happened. I called ahead, he said. I'm here to buy a car, that's it. The cop took the documents and walked off to review them, while his partner stood nearby with his hand never far from his holster. The dealership manager scoffed, pointed at Marcus's car, and said, You expect us to believe someone driving that came to buy an S-Class? Marcus turned to him, straight-faced. That 2010 Accord? Bought it in college. Took care of it. Didn't upgrade until I earned it. Now I have. The officer came back, handed Marcus his documents, and said, Sorry for the inconvenience, sir. No charges. No apology from the dealership. Just cold silence. Marcus took a breath, turned to the salesman and the manager, and said, I'll take my business elsewhere. But just as he started to walk out, a voice cut through the awkward silence. Wait, sir. Please. A man in a sharp suit came walking fast, tall, confident, black, and introduced himself as James Calloway, regional director. He looked furious. Not the kind of fake outrage you see in PR cleanups, real anger. He said, "I saw what happened. I'm deeply sorry. That does not reflect who we are." The salesman's been dismissed. The manager, he's facing consequences from corporate. Marcus didn't move. James continued, "Please, let me personally assist you. Or, if you prefer, I'll refer you to another dealership where you'll be respected." Marcus just looked at him and said, "And what if I hadn't stayed calm? What if those cops weren't reasonable? What if I got cuffed? Or worse, for trying to buy a car?" James nodded slowly. "You're right. This shouldn't have happened. I can't undo it, but I want to make it right." The next day, Marcus went to that other dealership James had mentioned. Night and day, they shook his hand, offered him coffee, asked intelligent questions, didn't once look at him sideways. Marcus bought the S-Class, paid in full, drove it home, but something still sat heavy in his chest. So that night, he posted everything: the photos, the bank statement, the cops, the looks, the receipts, and the internet did what it does. The story exploded. Local news picked it up. Protests broke out in front of the original dealership. Customers posted angry reviews. The company's name hit headlines, not the kind they wanted. Then the phone rang. It was James again. He didn't call to apologize this time. He called with an offer. "Marcus," he said, "we need help. Real help. Would you be willing to consult with us? Help design anti-bias training for our staff. We need someone who understands, someone who's lived it." Marcus didn't say yes right away. He thought about it. Then he said, "I'll help, but only if this is real. No PR campaign. No lip service. I want actual change." 1 year later, Marcus stood at the front of the same dealership that called the cops on him. This time, he wasn't holding a wallet. He was holding a mic. He led a full workshop on implicit bias, on professionalism, on how dangerous it is when people make assumptions. The staff was different now. Some fresh faces, some old ones who stayed and grew. You could feel the shift. You could see it in the way they moved, the way they listened. As Marcus walked out, he passed a teenager standing on the sidewalk. Black kid, maybe 16, staring at the silver Mercedes with wide eyes. Marcus smiled. "You thinking about one of these?" he asked. The boy shrugged. "Just dreaming. People like me don't drive cars like that." Marcus walked over, rested a hand on the boy's shoulder, and said, "They said the same thing about me." Then he turned, opened the door, and stepped inside, not as a suspect, but as a symbol, because sometimes the most powerful revolution doesn't come with noise. Sometimes it looks like a man walking back into the very place that tried to tear him down and rewriting the ending. Now let me ask you, what would have happened if Marcus hadn't stayed calm? If the cops hadn't given him the benefit of the doubt? If that dealership never got exposed? How many more stories like his have we never heard, simply because they ended too soon? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Tell me, when is it enough? And who gets to decide what respect looks like? Justice doesn't always start in a courtroom. Sometimes it begins in a parking lot, with a man in a navy blue suit, a worn-out Accord, and a whole lot of patience.